Hello there. Welcome to the June Alma Show. This is June Alma again. And we'd like to continue our discussions regarding the readiness of the country for the ASEAN integration scheduled for January 1st of the year 2015. So we're back, Ambassador Basilio. Yeah, I understand that you have come up with really grand and wonderful policies for the region with referencing to the trade and investments in the region and also the exchange of research and study programs to develop the human resource. And but I understand that there's still some issues in the probably in the implementation or in the procedural, uh, in the code of manual of policies and procedures maybe, where you still have to, sort of uh, settle issues on, for instance, how far in advance is the automation, because I understand that we have not come out yet with laws regarding the automation and the transactions in the internet among different countries. So how far in advance have we gone for that?
There is a division of labor in ASEAN. The political and security community is taken care of by the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the ASEAN defense ministers and the ASEAN defense ministers plus is taken care of by the Secretary of National Defense. With regard to the economic pillar, the players there are the Secretary of the Department of Trade and Industry, the Secretary of Finance, the Secretary of Energy, um, and the Director General of the National Economic and Development Authority play active roles there. So each sectoral body contributes to the effective implementation of a plan of action. So we have been doing this in partnership with the dialogue partners. For instance, we engaged Japan in an ASEAN plus one framework. So every year, we, the senior officials and the directors generals of ASEAN in each member country, work with their Japanese partners, for instance, to craft a plan of action. So we target certain areas which require cooperation with them. If we are talking, for instance, about educational facilitation, we discuss this with them. Or if we want to address pandemics, we talk with our partners. Pandemics is an issue that is of great interest also to the East Asia Summit. Our leaders, there are 18 leaders there who talked about how best to address and to handle and manage the ill effects of pandemics, and with a view to arriving at projects which will enable countries to respond to such health emergencies. With regard to disaster risk reduction, for instance, our Natural Disaster Risk Reduction Center here in the Philippines is in coordination with the ASEAN Humanitarian Center, which is based in Jakarta. We are also linked with the other similar agencies, not only in the 10 ASEAN member countries, but also with the dialogue partners, and there are 18 of them. So we have organized our work in ASEAN to enable us to prepare eventually for the establishment of the ASEAN community by 2015. So everybody is working at his little niche, you know, and contributing towards the integration of the 10 Southeast Asian countries, and various sectoral bodies are attending to the various aspects of cooperation. If you talk about health, we will talk about the implementation of laws. We have also put in place various protocols to implement the ASEAN Charter. So everybody is doing his share. Our legal people are attending to legal things. Our Secretary of Health is attending to health matters. Economic things are done by several agencies in the country. So it's our job in the Department of Foreign Affairs not only to provide policy advice to the leaders and to the foreign ministers and trade and economic ministers. We try to help implement it nationwide. So everybody, this thing is replicated in the 9 others. So we have been, that's why all the meetings, we have about 3,000 meetings a year.
Wow.
At various levels. So they're all doing their job. When you go to a meeting, it means that you have to do your homework. And in the economic community, for instance, the Secretary General of ASEAN issues a scorecard. How does how do you fare during a given year? And economic ministers keep on trying to upgrade themselves until they are able to uh, attain all the objectives of their community. So we get together and then we prepare for the leaders' participation in what we call the ASEAN Summit as well as in the East Asia Summit. There is where we get the directions from our leaders. We want you to do this in the economic field. We want you to do this in the political security field. So we want you to do this in the socio-cultural field. So we all work together, 10 plus the dialogue partners, work in tandem.
Going back to the policy level, how, what developments have you made with reference to the, um, for instance, policies on investment or the ownership of land, for instance, which right now is 60-40. So if we will have, cooperation among different countries, then I believe you might have to make some adjustments into the laws with regards to the entry of foreigners and to entice them into investing so that you can have flexibility into the ownership of land, including utilities and even media, for instance.
Well, we in the executive branch, of course, always want to implement effectively our commitments to ASEAN. One of the important things that we have to do is for our legislature to introduce either amendments to existing laws that affect the economic field, or perhaps even a change in our constitution. Of course, it's a very emotive issue in this country to change things, but we have to keep in step with the rest of ASEAN. If we are able to create a positive environment and a conducive environment to enable more investors to come into this country, then we will be able to attain even greater heights, even greater achievements in the economic field. And this government is trying to do its utmost to ensure that a conducive environment will be in place to encourage investors to come and seize the economic opportunities here in this country.
Yeah, yeah. But with that being said, with the foreign limitation on equity, which is, as June had mentioned, it's 40% foreign,
Yeah.
60% Filipino. Plus, there's that absolute ban, I think, on foreign ownership of land, as well as the absolute ban on ownership of media.
That requires a constitutional amendment.
Ah, okay.
So
okay. Uh-huh.
Congress can turn itself into a constituent body
Yes.
and introduce amendments to these economic measures. So it is our wish that there will be a national reassessment of what we have, because it's the task of the legislature, and we are in the executive. We respect the independence of the two other branches, the judiciary and the legislature. But our legislature are members of the legislature are very supportive of our objectives in ASEAN. So I hope one day they can just announce and say we turn ourselves into a constituent
Constituent assembly.
assembly. So they're able to introduce these amendments, or the relevant the economic committee in both houses of the legislature, the Senate and the House of Representatives, can introduce amendments or new bills
Yes.
to ensure that we are able to benefit from this great interest to invest in Southeast Asia. And we have to also project our country and say that our basket of incentives are better than our
Yeah,
neighbors.
yeah. So the LEDA can help in that.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
of course.
definitely.
Yeah.
I noticed, Ambassador, that lately the Department of Foreign Affairs has been coming up with branches inside malls.
Yes, we are.
That is very interesting and very
Well,
exciting.
we want to bring our services closer to our people to make it easier for them to acquire a passport and other consular services. So we talk with the management of the SM malls as well as with Robinson malls so that we can have a space there, an office where we can cater to the needs of of the general public.
Yeah, but then you were also closing down some embassies located in some other countries, right?
You know, we would like to have a lean organization. At the same time, we want also to be able to perform our mandate and deliver on the three pillars of Philippine foreign policy, which is the promotion, protection of national security, to have a robust economic diplomacy program for our posts abroad, and also to pay particular attention to the needs of our people who are abroad. So we do those three pillars of our Philippine foreign policy, which was crafted by the President, and we are the implementing executive department.
Oh, we have a really very interesting topic,
Very
and
nice
unfortunately, we're running out of time. We
Yeah.
should like to have the ambassador again back to discuss more lengthily some other
Yeah.
issues. And in the meantime, would you like to give our televiewers some parting words,
Well,
Undersecretary?
all I ask our televiewers is that they should um, um, avail themselves of the services of the Department of Foreign Affairs, particularly our Office of Consular Affairs. We are there to serve them. I also want to enlist their active support for the forthcoming formal launching of the ASEAN community. I want to let them know that they are part of the ASEAN community, and in fact, it is a people-centered community. We are doing this in government to ensure that the welfare of our people are protected and their well-being promoted. So I hope that we will stand tall among the 9 other member countries of ASEAN and say, we are nationals of ASEAN.
There you go. So we hope you enjoyed the interview tonight on Ambassador Undersecretary Amb.Basilio, and we would like to invite you to stay tuned again because shortly we will have another episode on unity and diversity and the interview on American pastor Steve Richley, and he will share with us his experience on the touching miracle after the accident, the almost fatal accident, motorcycle accident that he had 2 years ago. Do stay with us. We shall be back shortly. See you.